You're listening to Our Space with Matt Batiste.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode. Before we even begin, if you've been listening for a while now but haven't subscribed or followed the show, please show me and show the show some love. I'm also going to be giving away a copy of Amy Madden's book, Negatives, a photographic archive of emo from 96 to 06. To enter that, you need to rate and review the show on Spotify or Apple Music and DM me a screenshot on Instagram, and I'll be announcing that winner on July 12th. All right, on to today's guest. You probably pretended to hate these guys in 2009. We are joined by BrokeNCYDE.
What is up, the world?
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I love that you guys are back. I think before we hit record, we were talking a little bit about how I had Melissa Marie of Millionaires on the show recently, and you guys are great friends.
Yes,
Our best friend. Yep.
Yeah, and so why don't we start off from there? Because I feel like that was also sort of the beginning of BrokeNCYDE as well. How did that friendship come to be, and how did BrokeNCYDE sort of come to be on the come up in the MySpace days?
Well, initially, like BrokeNCYDE was Seven and myself, and we kind of, our girlfriends broke up with us at the time. So, you always go to make music. Let's go, baby. So then we wanted to create something new and be stand out a little bit, because we were always like little sad boys kind of, but always bright, from the inside. So we created some different kind of vibes, did sad boy music, and then we met Jay, and he started producing and screaming and rapping and gracing us with the goods, and we started doing Bree Bree. And then MySpace, during that time, it was a lot easier for artists to kind of get out there and work with the fans and spread their music. And that's where we kind of met, like the whole scene, with Melissa and Millionaires and all those great people, Medic Droid, Breathe, Carolina, like great people. And that's where we kind of met.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you guys were a part of the core, scene kids and scene kid music. And you mentioned pretty well all of them over there, which is absolutely great. I want to know what made you, I guess, sort of want to mix and blend genres that way, in the way that you did, in terms of, rap with screamo and electronica and everything, right? Like, what made you just say, we're going to do a blend of everything and basically be one of the pioneers of Crunkcore?
I would definitely say that, like, the screaming mix with hip hop comes from, like, scene kids definitely listen to a lot of different music. So, you can't really pin people into one thing. And, like, we were all into Hawthorne Heights and, like, all the emo stuff, but also all the crunk stuff was coming up, like, the Lil Jons, etc. And so, like, it just made sense to just sort of, like, mess around with blending stuff. That, I guess that's just what people do, push the boundaries, but that's where that came from. And then we started doing a lot more like EDM stuff from traveling to Denver, because we loved going to Denver, and they just, like, back in 2009ish, they loved that scene. So yeah, that's sort of where we adapted from that. And the Kill Paradise, like, he definitely influenced our earlier stuff, and, like, those are the boys, you know what I mean? So
it seems like anytime rap gets mixed with rock in a new way, it's looked down upon by usually the first people to do it, right? And, looking back at Limp Bizkit, Fred Durst took a lot of hate with, the early new metal scene. And new metal as a whole genre took a big hit with all of that, right? And now we're seeing, this past weekend that we're recording, Sick New World happened, and, like, the metalcore and the new metal and all of that, it's more popular than ever, right? So I'm just kind of curious how you felt at the time about, yourselves doing this and other people starting to get into experimenting with rap and rock and creating, I guess, Crunkcore. And the name of Crunkcore, what did you think about that?
I think we've always been rebels and originators. Like we've always grew up listening to, the kind of genre music Jay was just saying, but like, um, Crunkcore has always been like a party, be yourself, kind of like just live, kind of vibe, because we made, we like the crunk music, but also the hardcore aspects. So we're like, let's just be BrokeNCYDE because that's truly who we were. So let's make crunkcore music.
And it evolved too.
Yeah.
Like as we played more shows and saw like what we liked, it was easier to develop the genre because, like moshing was definitely getting big at that point in time. So it was like, how can we make some hard stuff that people will like want to move to,
The rap and like EDM, like what?
And the EDM, like when you see everybody bouncing and like you can feel the room, literally the whole entire room bouncing from people. There's nothing like that. So we're always chasing the dragon, I guess.
And partying too with all of that. Like I remember, I don't even know what the official meaning to crunk is, but I remember going to parties in like, high school and early college days. And, it was usually if you mixed weed and alcohol, it was crunk, chronic and drunk.
That was definitely us. So
who came up with that term crunk? Like, was that around when you guys were doing the crunkcore stuff? Was it Outcast? Okay.
Yeah. They're the first ones to ever say it in a song.
And
but,
then
but we were influenced mainly by like Lil Jon and that whole era. Like his beats were just amazing.
What was it about Lil Jon that truly influenced you? Was it the beats?
It's just hype. Yeah, well, no, it wasn't just that. It was his delivery. So if you can do a Lil Jon scream, but in a screamo kind of way, that's how we developed that trademark BrokeNCYDE sound. Is like if like screamo and Lil Jon yelling was to like mix,
That's a cool concept that I think not a lot of people really thought about, at the time. So, when something's so new, it's so easy to absolutely hate on. And I mean, you both were no strangers to a lot of backlash and hate, that kind of negativity that was sort of surrounded back then. And I just kind of want to touch on that a little bit. Did you ever feel like there was a point where you guys wanted to give up because of the negativity?
No, if you come from Albuquerque, you don't give up because it's this culture we grew up in kind of teaches us you be strong and make things work. So like it kind of worked out in the music business because initially we made music and then, it's turned into business. So like you got to have a very tough skin and learn that. Even to this day, people are very cruel and it's like, let's not bully, but there's like,
but it's fine if it's BrokeNCYDE.
Yeah, because fuck BrokeNCYDE.
Fuck us.
Huh? So, whatever. But it's just like, I don't know. It's a frustrating thing.
But we live in the light. We don't fuck those people. We do our thing. We do what makes us happy and we play shows and we make those people happy. And that's
cool to be different. And that's
cool to be different. And that's how we've always lived. And fuck anybody who has anything else to say about that. Cause
I'm a nerd minus this, party music. Cause I like to drink and smoke. My bad. But I also love nerdy stuff, Star Wars, the space, so it's a little kind of weird mix myself.
For sure.
I feel like that's the cool thing about being a scene kid or being an emo kid is that like you just embrace the weird fully,
Yeah. You just know you're different and you accept it and you have to take the hate, but it makes you cooler because now everybody's kind of like, oh, okay, now it's cool. Especially with all the genres that have kind of like created from what we've kind of helped do.
It's really weird seeing maybe it's not weird for some people, but for me at first it felt a little bit odd seeing kids looking back and reminiscing at the 2000s like, oh, I wish I grew up in that era, Warped Tour and MySpace and the scene kids and the haircuts and all of that, because I remember growing up in that era, and as a kid thinking back, oh, I wish I grew up in the 90s and Nirvana and all, it's like we always look back at the past 10, 20 years before we were born. I'm like, I wish that we could have done that. So does it feel weird to like see young people now looking back at that era that we were, in our prime in, and being like, oh, I wish that I was there for that? Like, does that feel weird to you? Does that feel cool to you? How do you feel seeing like 17-year-olds being like, I wish I was a teenager in 2009?
I think it's really cool, really, because we just did what we thought was cool, and then people took it and like did their own thing. Like,
you just want to be different.
I didn't even know. I was just like a skater kid, and so I like always wore a bandana and shit. And then like all the kids at our shows started wearing that stuff, and then like it got more colorful, and like anime sort of made its way in, and like I don't know, but it evolved and changed. But I think it's so cool to see where people take it.
It's nice to get flowers finally.
Yeah, exactly.
And not dead flowers all the time.
I love that, it's fully coming around, because I mean, for a lot of us, we were bullied for the way that we dressed and for the things that we liked, right? And now there's a whole portion of people and a whole section of even the internet that is fully embracing it, that feels really cool for me, like knowing that I felt like a bit of an outcast for the things that I liked, and seeing how many people have been even following me on my socials and connecting with me. It's like, oh, there were so many of us out there. But I guess at the time, even though we had MySpace, it still didn't feel that big. Do you feel like it's gotten a lot bigger for yourself as performers and musicians?
Yeah, like it's the double-edged sword, but social media, I think, is that X factor, because like we didn't really have it too much then, but it's good that it's, still around and getting out there, especially with like a broader market.
I say fuck social media. I hate the algorithm. Like I was telling him, you have to build an email list nowadays to actually like get a hold of your fans, because they have everything else just so grip tight. Like in the MySpace days, you could see the bulletins in real time. Like, oh, like BrokeNCYDE just released a song, and it was there, and everybody who wanted to find it could. And it like now they just have it to where you can't even reach your own people. And it's really frustrating.
It's sort of become to the point where a lot of musicians need to sort of have I guess an influencer or content creator mind in order to reach their audience. Building that email list is definitely a great way of doing that. So this way you actually do have a way of connecting with your fans. An email list is essentially the modern MySpace bulletin.
Yeah.
Touche.
Yeah.
What would you say the biggest difference is now with the MySpace era and the TikTok era? Because I think that there's a lot of differences, and I think that there's a lot of similarities as well. But I'm curious to know from you two, who both had very big presence on MySpace, and that was your come up, what you've seen and noticed.
I think length, like song length. If it was playing on your profile, you could hear the whole song. And like nowadays the song could get popping, but it's only 15 seconds or 30 seconds. And then you hear the rest of the song. You're like, whoa, what the hell? Like, that's weird. I didn't think that song was going to go there. Or like, I liked the old days better personally, but you know how it is when you're the old man.
Yeah. TikTok is such like it's an enigma. So we try to mess with it, but
we're figuring it out.
Yeah.
We're trying.
What we're working really hard on is new music, but we're trying to figure out all this new stuff that we were, kind of doing before we knew we were doing, but now we're trying to do it. It's too late.
It feels like now you're trying to do it a little bit more intentionally.
Yeah, exactly. We were so young when we started. Like Jay was like
18.
I was 22. Like I didn't know. My heart was broken. I was just making music.
A broken heart is like probably the number one reason why most people get into music. I feel like that's a good blanket statement without any facts behind me. Just from talking to musicians, it's like, so what happened? What's the story with you or with this song? A girl broke my heart.
Yeah, we have a new EP dropping, so it's kind of like along those lines, and it's like different, but broken heart stuff.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this EP. How many songs do we have on it?
It's five.
Five.
It's 5 songs.
Yeah.
And it's definitely different, but we got into it very naturally because we have a friend, Hair Jordan, and we've been like making songs back and forth with him for a while. And he just he sent us like a beat pack essentially, which was, like just a bunch of different stuff. And there was like some more I guess like pop punk ish sounding stuff. And so we were like, let's just try one and see what happens, because we were going to do like a collab EP with him. And then the song just ended up coming out really cool, and it has like I don't know. It's definitely true to BrokeNCYDE, but it has like flavors of old Hawthorne Heights and like old Sum 41. And I don't know, like it's true to us, but in our own way, but it's paying homage to what also inspires us.
And like the scene days, like, let's make, America scene again. Let's go, baby.
I'm just having fun, not putting ourselves in any sort of box.
Yeah, COVID really changed things, so it really rejuvenated us.
How did COVID change things?
It just like readjusted things. It kind of like let things flow that needed to flow, is just like the way the earth cured in a way. BrokeNCYDE went through a little time of curing, and Jay came back, and now him and I are really, really aggressively putting out new music all the time. We have music dropping every like once a month, just like what we used to do in the MySpace days, so we're just trying to feed our fans and give them just new BrokeNCYDE. It's about what makes us happy, kind of, instead of like worrying about what people wanted.
And when's this new EP coming out?
The 10th.
May 10th.
May 10th, yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about the reaction that you've had from fans so far about the new songs that you've been releasing, because, you've had those fans from the MySpace days, and now this is almost like a revival of BrokeNCYDE. Has the perception of BrokeNCYDE and the fans been a lot better? What's the main theme that you're hearing from fans?
It just depends on the song, because we're doing like I said, we're trying new things, but also we're staying true to like the original OG BrokeNCYDE sound. But we also, we got to have fun too. So we're trying different stuff, and some of it's polarizing, but obviously the stuff people know and love from us, they're going to know and love that. So, but we're trying new things. We're getting out there.
We just like to try blending a bunch of things. We don't like to be locked down in one thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like there was a lot of humor and fun that was added to your music back in the day. And I'm kind of curious, from back then, was that just basically kids being kids and young people being young people, or was that intentional?
Young, dumb, and full of cum, as my adults have told me. So, we were just young. We didn't know, just like the business side, we didn't understand a lot either. And we learned on both ends. But, now
we just fuck around too.
Yeah,
like
we
just talking shit, like what makes us laugh. And really that's all that mattered, because we had so many inside jokes. It's crazy. Like throughout the years, we
were just rebel poor kids from New Mexico, being ourselves and never changing. And some people really loved it, and some other stupid people didn't. So
talk to me about New Mexico and growing up over there. How much of an impact did that have on the music that you were making?
I don't think any whatsoever. Like the scene here in the music scene, it's kind of like not really strong, but it's always been growing. But they never really supported BrokeNCYDE. So
yeah,
like Jay was saying, we started venturing outward into like Denver, the West Coast, the Midwest, and then, just started growing everywhere. It was a dream.
Now, I don't know much about New Mexico. Is it a bigger city? Is it like a suburb? Is it, what's the vibe over there?
Like middle size, but it's mainly like Latino. I mean, it depends
What
on
we are. So
which side of town you're on. But
now I'm just wondering, like, if that sort of like, I guess, growing up in a place like that, not necessarily the music scene, but like growing up in a place like that where maybe you felt like, and I don't want to put words into your mouth. Maybe you did feel like you belonged there, but you know, like sometimes you see some cities or some genres of music are heavily influenced on like being in the suburbs and wanting to get out of the suburbs, or being in the city and writing about issues within the city. So I'm just kind of curious if that had any of an impact on your music, or if it was just kind of like, we're a couple of friends, let's just have some fun and make some music with it.
I think a little bit of that, but like from where we come from, it's really hard. Like growing up, and we didn't come from much. So like, I think we've all kind of understood the rap world, you know what I mean? The struggle, but like putting the hardships into words, kind of same thing with our careers, you know? So I think like growing up here, it's rough. So I think that's why the rap thing has always been.
And that's why we were always bright, because it was so dull, and like, not dull, but like everything is like sepia. You know what I mean? Like everything is very clay colored. But
everything has that like filter over it.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, like that's dope. Like that's where we come from.
We
But
love
also,
it. But
also we like to be bright too, you know, like stick out a little bit. Especially with the tattoos back then, was like, I remember people would look at these guys like crazy, you know?
and we're a little spicy, and we're known for our chili. So, you know, it all works out well.
Definitely. A little bit of spice.
I love that. How much spice and fun and humor is being put into your new songs?
A lot of the new songs, like, so we're kind of like working on an album, but like Jay said, we randomly did this 5-song EP that it's so cool. We can't wait for people to hear it.
It's very different for us, but we do have a lot of like, you know, the norm stuff, but also like it's not too serious, but
yeah,
but it has the BrokeNCYDE vibe for sure.
It's fun.
So we have a new EP coming out May 10th, and then a potential album in the future.
Yeah, we're trying for this year, but you know how that goes. You don't want to rush it, and you don't want to put out anything like mediocre, because we really, like, despite what anybody ever thought, we really work hard at what we do. Like, you know, from the production, because I do a lot of the beats, and you know what I mean? Like, it takes a lot, and we do all the writing and the mixing and the mastering and, you know, all the promo. Like, I drew a lot of the artwork and stuff that we're using, and like, it takes a lot of work. So we really put our heart into everything that we're doing. Especially this new EP, like it comes from a genuine place of heartache and heartbreak, because I went through it pretty bad, and you know, at a certain point Mike did too, and we like drew from real inspiration, you know, like
a revamp, like you said, a revamp of BrokeNCYDE, starting sad boy music, and now we're getting back into our party Crunkcore Era sounding, I guess.
It sounds like almost everything you do is pretty well independent, and you guys are doing 100% of, well, everything. And you're putting a lot of yourself into this new project as well.
Yeah. Well, we do work with like a lot of our really close friends, like Hair Jordan and our other friend Cam. Like we do work with other people too, but a lot of it we try to keep independent, because then, you know, we can keep it flowing, and the more people you add, it like holds it up or whatever. So if we do it ourselves, then it gets done, you know?
What is your favorite thing or favorite part of, I guess, the MySpace era? What made it different than everything else?
I loved, like, everybody was so accepting of, like, if you're a part of the scene, you know, people weren't as hateful, you know what I mean? They were more accepting and loving, and, you know, Plur and, you know, all the good stuff too. It wasn't just like hate, you know, and that's what I loved about the whole scene. It was accepting. Like,
yeah, trolls weren't a thing yet, you know. They were a little bit, but not to the degree that it got.
Yeah, there also wasn't as much access back then.
yeah, that's the main factor, I guess, is access.
What's one thing that era didn't have that you're happy we're in this era now?
Cameras, like, I guess easier
Yeah.
access to cameras.
Because if we had like cameras during what we were doing, oh my God, we would have had a whole freaking YouTube, pre-YouTube thing. It would have been wild, you know, like we liked to party and have fun back in the day. And
Yeah.
I kind of wish a part of me is kind of glad we didn't have iPhones back
us
then.
too. Yeah, so
You know, really, really dangerous for the things that we got up to, for sure. But another part of me kind of wishes that we did, because I kind of would love to have seen the backstage YouTube crazy vlogs. It would be like Jackass style stuff, I'm sure, from, you know, guys like yourself and from the Millionaires and from everybody that was a part of that scene and on the Warped Tour circuit and MySpace era. Like, could you imagine the crazy videos and series we would have had if we had that much access and technology back then?
yeah, and today's stuff would have had no like competition. They'd be in the we'd be in the future still.
What's the difference between, I want to know from you guys, what's the difference between a scene kid and an emo kid?
I think it's just, to me, I don't know. I just think it's like still like emo kid, but still that listens to like, you know, everything and not just, you know, well, they're not the sad song, like, but it's, you know, they're accepting
a little more accepting.
like light, you know, and then the brightness and just, I don't know, they want to be swaggy, but still like sad. A sad swaggy boy. I don't know.
I like that. Sad swaggy boy scene kids.
Yeah, there we go. Let's go, baby.
You guys are obviously making music. Any tours or any plans or any shows coming up anytime soon?
We're working on it. It's a whole different world nowadays, you know, but we're always working on it. We just got to figure things out. But yeah, definitely.
Been getting out there doing festivals and, you know, doing one-off shows and going out to LA a lot. And with Melissa, and I don't know, it's growing and we're super thankful.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have that email list set up?
No, we're going to do that and get some free merch to, you know, the people that sign up. So we're working on all that.
All right. Well, if you're listening or watching on YouTube, keep an eye open for their email list so you can get on that, so you can find when those tour dates get announced. And of course, when that new album gets announced as well.
Yeah. Everything is on BrokeNCYDE13.com. So, you know, you can find all of our stuff there.
Perfect. And one question I like to wrap up with, because this show is really about, you know, promoting the scene and promoting up and coming artists. Do you have any favorite up and coming artists that you're listening to right now?
I'm really stuck in like some, like, I guess sudden death and like some, it's not really scene music, but like some of the dubstep music I'm really stuck into right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's your favorite dubstep artist right now?
I really love Charles the First. He's kind of like, I mean, he passed, RIP, but I'm thinking of the Trees. Yeah. Of the Trees and, you know, sudden death. I'm liking that a lot lately.
Sweet. Well, shout out to them. And what about you?
Yeah, I mean, as far as scene music, probably like our friend Hair Jordan. He's really dope.
You've mentioned him a few times as well, so big shout out to him.
Yeah, no, but I like
Melissa Marie and Millionaires for sure.
Yeah.
That always supporting and jamming because we like to party.
But
Yeah, Melissa is absolutely awesome.
I think I definitely am like Mike. I'm stuck in an era, but I do venture out every now and then.
Are we going to get some dubstep influences in this new record?
Maybe.
Yeah, we hope to. I think it'd be a really cool, like, another genre bending idea. So we're working on it, I think.
Well, you guys aren't strangers to blending genres.
Yeah. We like to add, you know, BrokeNCYDE to everything.
I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and have a chat with me today. It has honestly been my pleasure, especially as someone that grew up in that era through the scene as a scene kid myself and an emo kid and all of that, you know, going from seeing you guys on MySpace and listening to your songs on MySpace to, you know, how many years later, I don't even want to know, or I'm going to get depressed. But, you know, sitting down and having a chat with you, this has been a pleasure of mine. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah. We still look good, baby. We still look good.
Thank you for listening to Our Space with Matt Batiste. If you enjoyed yourself, please support the show by subscribing and leaving a review. Review.